camera companies seem convinced that every photographer just wants more and needs more megapixels, more resolution, more speed, more of everything. So let's get started and let's talk about it. After doing this for almost 43 years, I don't see a need. I know Lumix has a 44 megapixel camera. I think I heard the other day Sony's coming out with one in the 60s. If I was to design a perfect camera, and every photographer, there's no such thing as the perfect camera because every photographer needs something different. Wedding photographer needs something different than landscape, sports, everybody's different. So when I say perfect camera, let me specify what I'm talking about having it for. Most of my experience comes from weddings. We shot a lot of weddings. So I'm going to use that as my baseline for the perfect camera. So what I've done is I've tried to consider everything. The price of data storage, the price of memory cards, all that has gone up so much that I think it requires us to consider now, how much data do we really need? Because some of the cards I bought a couple of years ago were for $29 are now $129 if you can even find them in stock. So this will come into play as we get into this video just a little bit. I want you guys to see how much data is being wasted and wasting your money on it and your time. So, hey, let me stop you guys for a second, interrupt. We've heard a lot about the DJI. I've got the Pocket 3, and they're coming out with the Pocket 4, but it's not going to be released in the United States. And then you've got the Insta360 one, which is going to be released. I think already has been released. I think I saw them on sale at B&H the other day. And then you've got the Extra Muse, which is close to being a clone of the DJI Pocket 3 and the Pocket 4 from what I can tell. But if you guys haven't seen the Extra Muse that they're working on putting out, it's the new Extra Muse 2 Pro, I believe it's called, or Extra Muse Pro. Check out this picture. I'm going to try to throw a picture up here so you can see it if I can find a cool one. If not, there won't be a picture up there because I don't want to get any copyright issues. It looks a lot like my Pocket 3. It's got 2 lenses on it. Very cool. Check that out when it comes out available. I think it's going to be a really, I love my Pocket 3, but if they just making some of the basic upgrades even better, wow, that's got to be an incredible camera because that little Pocket 3, you just flip it on and it just knows. It knows what to focus on. It knows the sound. It does everything automatically. It's so easy. If I'm in a hurry, only something happened really quick, I run out the door, I'm taking my Extra Muse. And I'm not shooting a wedding with Extra Muse, but Pocket 3, whatever. But for that situation, if I'm in a hurry to make a video, I forgot to set something up, grab that DJI Pocket 3 or this new Extra Muse 2 Pro is what it's called. I think it's going to be a amazing little camera to carry around from what I've seen. So I'm excited to check out the Extra Muse 2 Pro. And I think till the end of the month, they're running $20 deposit down and you get a $60 credit toward either the price or some of the accessories. But either way, $20 down, and it's refundable $20 if you change your mind during the time it's released. So anyway, guys, I'm very excited about checking out the Extra Muse 2 Pro. So I want to see it. I want to check it out when it comes out. So I'm hoping it comes out very soon. So keep your eyes open for the Extra Muse 2. Let's jump back to the video now. Thank you. So let me get into the specs that I think you would need as a wedding photographer. This is my opinion, what you would need. And I'm going to do video too, even though I'm not a professional videographer. I mess with video and stuff. So I'm just going to throw it in because I know we got some video guys out there too. And it's interesting. And one thing I have done is I didn't make this perfect camera for today. I wanted this to be perfect camera. I'm older. You guys that are younger probably won't care about this so much, but I made mine as probably the last perfect camera that I would ever buy. So I kind of future-proofed it a little bit, especially in the video part, but I'll show you. I put a 30 megapixel sensor in it, and the cameras I use right now are 24, which are plenty. Sometimes I don't even need that much. But if you're shooting a wedding, especially your main pictures, before you get to the reception, you go ahead and shoot. I'd probably shoot that at 30 or maybe knock it down to the 20 somewhere. But, I mean, when digital first came out, we shot weddings with a 3 megapixel camera from Olympus. And I used to print 16 by 20s, and they were beautiful. In fact, I think I've got one laying around here somewhere from that 3 megapixel Olympus camera. I'll have to see if I can find that and show it to you guys, because you don't believe it's a 3 megapixel camera, how pretty a 16 by 20 was. If you compare those 30 megapixels to, say, the new Lumix that's 44 megapixels, and let's say you're at a large wedding, and you and the other photographers all together, say you shoot 2,000 pictures in that day. Let's look at the difference of the data that you're going to need for a 30 megapixel camera versus 44. So if you had a 35 megapixel camera, full frame, stack sensor, And I have to look at my notes for these numbers. A 30 megapixel shot at 2,000 images is going to give you approximately 105 gigabytes for one wedding. Just one wedding. And that's not even counting when you get into that wedding and start cropping, editing, and making new images from your old ones. When you start editing in different software, you're going to have double pictures for a while. At least that's how I do it. And then I go delete them and save them. But I keep stuff on memory cards, external hard drives. I got NAS drive that I keep that's 16 terabytes, I think it is. And it's starting to get full. So the difference, that's 105 gigabytes, even with a 30 megapixel camera. Now, but if we compare that to a 44 megabytes, you are looking at 147 gigabytes. That is 15%. If you have a 1 terabyte hard drive, that's 15% just from the data you shot at the wedding. Then you've got to remember, memory cards are so expensive. Well, it doesn't matter whether you're CF or whether you're SD, doesn't matter. But if you're up shooting V90 cards or any of them, V30s, they're all expensive now, but V90s are absolutely insane if you can find them. But just imagine being able to save about 50 gigabytes, maybe more like 42, 43 megabytes per wedding. In 10 weddings, that's almost 500 gigabytes. I'm getting all these numbers. That's half a terabyte. 10 weddings. That's before you start editing on any of them. Now, what you can do around this is because your camera shoots 30 megapixels or 24 or 44, you don't have to shoot that high. You can adjust your RAW setting down. Yes, shoot RAW because weddings. That's one thing I needed to make clear. I'm not shooting JPEGs, I'm shooting RAW images. But you've got to remember all the data needs. All the slowdown, the bigger your file, the faster your computer's got to be. The bigger your file, the more data, the more storage, SD cards, everything just keeps adding up, and getting more and more expensive to where it's just incredible. Incredible. In fact, it says if you photograph 25 weddings in a year, just shooting at 30 megabytes versus 44, photograph 25 weddings in a year, you could avoid moving approximately 3.7 terabytes in 1 year. And that's just at 25 weddings in a year. That's not very many. If you're doing weddings full time, you're probably shooting a lot more than 25 weddings. And so you could probably be easily up around 8 terabytes in 1 year without any editing, just on your base weddings. Think of all the data and stuff and the storage, all that is costing, slowing down your computers, having to get faster computers, faster, everything's faster and faster and faster and bigger. It's almost to the point of insanity right now. Instead of making bigger, faster files, how about let's just slow down a little bit. Even if I had that 30 megapixel, I would really probably be fine with 20. My R6 was 20 and it was fine. I probably would not shoot. Maybe I would shoot the bride and groom's pictures and the wedding party at full size with my 30 theoretical perfect camera. But by the time I get to the reception, I'm going to have it down to probably 10 or 12 because how many 30 by 40s you printed from a reception picture? Not many. I haven't anyway. These are things we need to think about, especially now that things are so high and hard to get. Everything's going to AI. It's just, and I've talked about AI before. I don't think we need to be scared of AI. I think we need to figure out how to use it for good for us, because if somebody don't figure out how to make it work for the good, somebody will figure out how to make it work for the bad. So let's try to take what they're giving us and make it work for us, not against us, because it can really help in editing, really can do a lot. And I don't ever see, at least not in my brain, how a AI would ever be able to replace a full wedding photographer at a wedding. Is there going to be a little robot running around after the wedding, setting up things, his assistant robots posing? I don't see how that happening. I just made that up, but seriously, you're directing weddings, you're shooting pictures, you're doing so much that I just don't see how AI could replace the actual photography of the wedding. If you have an idea of how they could do it, let me know. I'm curious. Now, I wasn't being sarcastic. I'm curious if you think there's a way that AI could replace an actual wedding photographer being at the wedding taking pictures. Let me know down at the bottom what you think it might be. But if we move on to the video, and this is going to be this is way more than I use now. This video I'm videoing right now, I think is 1080. Yeah, I shoot, if I'm outside doing something for a real important video, I'll shoot 4K 30. Most of the time I'm just recording in HD. But I've made this camera because I want it to be future-proof, so I thought I'd throw in 6K, 60 frames per second. I don't think I ever need 8K. I don't think I would ever need 6K. In fact, the cameras I have now do 6K, and I don't think I've ever even turned on 6K. But if you're using 6K, it gives you plenty of room for cropping and it's stabilization afterwards if you need it. So there's a lot of things to consider. And again, this depends. Are you shooting weddings? Are you shooting landscape? Are you shooting headshots? So I'm not saying that's the perfect camera for every photographer, because that does not exist, especially when you start doing hybrid cameras, because then you've got to throw in the videographers too. So there'll never be, I don't think, a perfect camera that's a hybrid that will be perfect photography and perfect video. Maybe they will, but I don't ever see it. Not in my lifetime anyway. Who knows? But I just put the 6K in here just for fun, just to make sure, a little bit future-proof in case somebody invents something cool in the next few years. I want to make sure I'm ready for it. You never know. In the video, it would also include, excuse me, I'll read the notes. I feel bad looking at the camera. I'm talking to you guys. Uncropped 4K at 120 frames per second, full HD at 240, open gate for horizontal and vertical delivery, internal 10-bit recording, ProRes directly to an SSD, which I never do that. I probably should one day. Simultaneous low-resolution proxy recordings for faster editing, and unlimited recording with proper internal cooling. A lot of that stuff I've never used, but I thought might as well put it on there just to future-proof it a little bit. Because if you think back 10 years ago, where were we at? We weren't. Who would have thought we were going to have 8K in a camera 10 years ago? So it's going to future-proof it a little bit. Got to always be thinking ahead. And the other really, really important thing for the photography side of this camera is the autofocus. In fact, that's probably the most important thing in the camera, because if your autofocus isn't working, I don't care if you got 580 megapixel camera, if it's out of focus, it's not working. So, you know, you got to have good autofocus. I'm so glad that Lumix finally put in the good focus. I'm so glad, because I went through the G85 and the G9, all great cameras. They just weren't good at holding focus like they can do now. It's good now. It's sticky good. So, but yeah, they were frustrating for a while. You'd make a video on a G9 or G85 back then, and half of it would be good. Then all of a sudden it would start focusing on this and come back to me, and it was all over the place. They're great cameras if they would just had that focusing right. Now they got it right. My S5 II and my G9 Mark II, great focusing. So that's awesome. Super important. That's the important things in my opinion. And you know, that was my idea of the basic settings for a perfect camera. But if they were to sit down, any of the manufacturers, let's say Lumix, because that's what I use now, or Canon that I used for over 40 years, to design the perfect camera, I'd like to see them bring in photographers. They may already do it, I don't know. But if they were to bring in some real working photographers and say, all right, what do you guys like? What do you hate? What do you want? If you got the right photographers in there, I think they could come up with something. You know, everybody sacrifices a little something and get something they want. Put it all together in a camera. They can be used. I think a camera around these specs would probably run around 3,000, maybe a little bit over, depending on where you buy it. But, and that's no lenses. I didn't do anything with the lenses, but I like my L-mount lenses. I know I get a lot of slack on that, but Canon RF, they won't let you use anything except for the RF glass unless you put the EF adapter on, which is fine, you can. But I like the L-mount glass. Viltrox, I think, has already put out one lens, or about to put out a lens for L-mount, and then you've got all the ones. I know Meika is a new company, but I love the MEIKE lenses. Fantastic lenses. I've got a bunch of them. They're not expensive, and they are absolutely out of this world nice. Just amazing little lenses. I think about a month or two ago, I did a comparison between an 85 millimeter Lumix and an 85 millimeter Meika lens, and the Meika is really good. We will also, of course, have 2 memory slots, and I would like to say just 2 SD slots, but if you've got to have 66K in there for future proofing, you might have to throw in a CF card. That's an iffy one for me, because those CF cards are even more expensive than the other, and I understand how fast they are, and I get it. So I don't want to say cut that out. No, definitely, but I would try to fix it so they could keep the SD cards in both slots, but it may not be possible with everything I have listed on here. You know, all the basic things you need. Of course, you got to have a hot shoe, and you've got to have a really good viewfinder. That's so important. Good viewfinder, good focusing, all that's very, very important. Those are the stuff that you don't think about a ton. Everybody thinks about, I got this many megapixels, I can do 60 frames a second. But if those aren't in focus, or you can't see them good, it doesn't matter. So you really need to think about the basics, a little bit of the camera. Have a working knowledge of the camera is going to be number one helpful. I know a lot of you guys have been shooting as long as I have or longer, so you guys know that. But some of the new guys, Get the basics down before you start jumping after all this. They're dangling this cool little fruit above you, and you still need to master some of the basics. So don't just jump from what you're doing to try to do something that you haven't already mastered the camera that you've got. So anyway, I figure around $3,000 would be the price of the camera. It might be a little more because I would like to add, like Canon used to with the battery grip at the bottom. I've got a battery grip on my S5 that's recording right now. It makes it bigger and nicer to hold because this has no place for my pinky to go, and I don't like that. I'm used to carrying all my Canon cameras. Had the battery grip down here, and I just kind of used to having this pinky to balance it, right? On these with no battery grip, there's nowhere for my pinky to go, and there's no off-brand battery grips. So I think I paid like $300 to get a used one for that camera, but I used to pay like $50 to get off-brand ones for Canon. Still using this one without a battery grip, but that's okay. If I was still shooting weddings, I'd have a battery grip on it, but I'm good. So use what you need. So anyway, guys, that was kind of fun. I had fun kind of laying out the camera. I thought it was pretty cool. Fun to do. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you've got ideas of what you think your favorite camera would be, let me know. And we didn't talk about flashes or much about lenses or anything like that, so there's still a whole lot to be put on there. This was just the body of the camera. Still lots and lots of important things that you need for the perfect camera to go along with it. Perfect camera with bad lenses is not going to help either. So you need good lighting. There's so much that goes into it, and everything has to work together. But it was just fun to make the video. I enjoyed it, putting it together. What would be your favorite? You know, and 30 megapixels, that would be fine, probably with 20. I would trade better autofocus if I could have 20 than not as good autofocus if they want to give me 30. So either way, I'm fine either way. And I need to find that 16 by 20 that I shot from a 3 megapixel Olympus from about 2003. I think it was 2002, somewhere in there. But anyway, that was a fun video, guys. I enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down at the bottom. What do you think your favorite perfect camera would be? Lay down the specs down at the bottom, or just a couple things that you have to have in a camera, and a couple of things that are deal breakers for you if the camera don't have. I appreciate your time. That was a good bit of fun. So let me know down at the bottom what you think, and I appreciate it. And you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you.